how far back you can go, and it's still a relevant Title IX case. If anyone's a good administrator on the campus, you'll know a few years ago, the Department of Education came out with some new rules, some brand new Title IX rules as it relates to sexual misconduct just came out. And just like Title IX as it relates to athletics, it can be complicated, but just having a little bit of knowledge can help you through the process. And so it's still relevant as it relates to athletics. Yeah, there's been a shift, and there's, the branch that deals with sexual misconduct, that can be a Title IX case. But when it comes to athletics, where the law was actually born from in 1972, it had to do with athletic participation, primarily at the college level. Fair Play for Girls in Sports is the entity in California, but also nationwide, that is, we call them affectionately the Title IX police. They're a group of attorneys and other folks, advocates, some coaches, and consultants that are extraordinarily well-versed on all the nuances of Title IX. So, while all of you in the room, I'm certain, have extraordinary experience in coaching and developing teams and creating plays and on the chalkboard and relating to students, these folks have that same level of expertise and experience in the Title IX arena. And so while you may say, there's no Title IX issues here, and Tim mentioned that you're finishing up an OCR, that's Office of Civil Rights Investigation, into potentially some Title IX complaints here. And so while you may say, no, boys and girls, we have all kinds of sports, there's no complaints here, or no concerns here. The folks who, from Fair Play and the Women's Law Center and some other agencies, they're they've got this thing down to a T. And so I would just say to you that the same passion and excitement that you have in sports and working with your students, they have for fighting Title IX violations. And so they go after it with the same rigor. And you can look in the paper, and as this goes back to 2017, but Red Bluff, that was a case where they had to reach. It was again an athletics case where they had to reach Lake Osiaco in Michigan, Santa Clara up in Northern California, Campbell High. You can go, everywhere. They even have at Hawaii, the whole state of Hawaii, I think, is under a Title IX compliance plan. That Fair Play is involved in. When Bob and I looked at these court cases, because that's what we like to do on our spare time sometimes, we saw that the template they used in Sweetwater is the same template they're using. Probably, if they're involved, and I don't know if they're involved in your complaint here, but if there has been an OCR complaint, then Fair Play knows about Rancho Buena Vista. And while they may not have sent somebody out here yet, they'll review the case and the settlement and the OCR report, and then they'll decide if they want to pursue any further investigation here at the school. And so, again, just having a little bit of knowledge can help. The Sweetwater case. So, back in basically 2014, 10 years ago, a federal court, the federal court, right before the Ninth with the baseball team. That was the initial complaint. Well, the posture back then in 2012 and 13 was, no, there's no Title IX complaint here. And the district, didn't work for the district at the time. The district says, we're going to hire an attorney. Our attorney is going to go through and analyze for Title IX violations. And of course, the attorney that the district hired found 0 violations. Fast forward to 2014, it's at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. What that meant is every time the Sweetwater Union High School District went to court, they were finding for the plaintiff, they were finding that there was, in fact, Title IX violations at Castle Park High School. And every time the district would say, no, there's not, it would, and appeal it, it went all the way to the Ninth Circuit. So after the Ninth Circuit Court, because this is federal court, this isn't state or local jurisdiction, this is federal jurisdiction. The Ninth Circuit after that is the Supreme Court. So we were 1 court away from going to the Supreme Court to say, and the argument back in 2014 was, well, that really isn't a law that applies to high schools. How could high schools be held to the same standard when it comes to girls participating in sports as NC2A athletics? That was where the law was born in 72, was about college athletics. How can we hold high schools to that same standard? And every time the court said, no, you are at the same standard. And most importantly, why? Is because you accept federal dollars. All schools, public schools especially, even private now, accept Title I dollars. PPP, when we were in COVID, many private schools accepted those federal PPP dollars. Remember that? The COVID-related money. So now all of those schools, including parochial schools and others that have federal money, are subject to Title IX. And so basically, this is what it came down to. As I mentioned, there were 2 reports that were written.
improve that they are meeting the needs of our elementary school students by sending the survey to every kid.
Look, give that person my phone number, because good luck with that.
So that's not, that's, you're telling me that's not a good strategy.
Yeah, it's really difficult. So we try that strategy as well. We survey every single student in our district in an athletic survey, and we ask, what would you like to see added as a sport? And at all of our schools, we get, I want to play girls lacrosse at schools that don't have girls lacrosse, and I want to. So if you put that survey out there, you're going to get responses that say we want to have a beach volleyball team. You're going to get responses that we had badminton this year, and badminton has never existed south of the 54.
But you put in wording to say, are you willing to play co-ed
everybody's familiar, but Castle Park High School has one of the only roller hockey stadiums in the county. So we have a very strong roller hockey co-ed team with a lot of girls on it as well. So we provide a lot of equal opportunities. But you gotta hit the, in order to hit prong one, to have some that proportionality, this is what you want to be looking at. Opportunities to compete.
And we're only going to cover 3 from the laundry list. So opportunities to compete, and Bob just went over that. You got to have sports for girls to play, and you got to really make some choices about that. And one of the things that, again, affectionately, I'll say Title IX police, is you can't diminish the boys program in order to meet your substantial proportionality goals for the girls program. So you can't say, well, then I won't have tackle football, we'll just let it go. And then that way, I won't have a lot of boys out here playing, and then we'll meet our Title I goals. That's not the way it works, and if you're found doing that, they can come at you for saying that you're trying to sabotage Title IX. That's not the way you want to do it. The way you want to do it is you do want to grow and expand programs. And so the whole notion of equal opportunity to compete is taking a look at the programs and seeing where you can grow. Just as Tim mentioned, bringing on flag football next year is something that I think will be a huge success and be a big draw. It has been in our district for our students. Locker room practice and competition facilities. So every year in our compliance plan, we have to count up the number of minutes that teams have access to which fields. Just as Bob mentioned, we have a lot of rehearsal and practice going through. This is not the stadium, the football stadium. This is the stadium field. And which teams have access to the stadium field. Our compliance plan at Castle Park says that field hockey and football have to have equal access to the stadium field. That's exactly what it says. And so, yeah, have we gone through a number of football coaches at Castle Park? Because that is a hard standard for them to live up to, because that means they have to share practice time. Practice time, when you start to look at it, is the optimal time is immediately after school. So if your school ends at 3:30, the best practice time is 3:45 or 4 o'clock. So if football is always practicing at 3:45 or 4 o'clock to 5, 5:30 or 6, and then the other team is coming on after 6, that could be, and I'll always use this language, it could be a Title IX violation. I'm not a judge, nor am I a lawyer. As Bob said, I have a career in education and teacher. I was not a coach, but I was an athletic administrator. In fact, I'm the chair of CIF at this point for our San Diego section. I'm the chairperson of the San Diego section. during the day. I kept the weight room scheduled for first and second period in the morning. Who was in the weight room during at that time he was a PE teacher, right? Who was in the weight room during first and second period every day? And he's also the football coach. So who was in the weight room first and second period? The football team. Because of course they need access to the weight room. And that's fine. They actually do need access to the weight room. But what in our Title IX brains were, okay, so if they get access first and second period, when does the girls lacrosse team get access? When does the girls basketball team get access? When does the field hockey team get access? When do the wrestlers get access? And do they get access during the day, during the school day, just like the football team gets access during the school day? Now, if you start thinking about scheduling your weight room like that, you realize you don't have enough periods in the day to schedule all your athletic teams in the weight room the way you were scheduling the football team. That's a Title IX reality. And so, a lot of times, like I said, people go, oh, Title IX, I've got to figure out, I already know. This part, locker room, practice, competition facilities. One of the reports Bob and I read was very simple, was not softball, baseball, which is an easy comparison, but it was girls and boys basketball. Boys basketball had a team room right off the gym, and during halftime, they would go into their team room, and they had a whiteboard and TV monitors and benches and water coolers, and that's where the boys basketball would have their team at halftime in that team room. Girls basketball had to go in the hallway, right outside the gym. They didn't have their own room. They had to wheel in a whiteboard that the coach would use, and then wheel it back somewhere, and the girls would sit on the floor. That was one of the cases we read. That was the testimony, at least, in one of the cases. That can be a Title IX violation. Things like uniforms, things like other types of equipment, those can be Title IX violations. And I would just say to you to think about that and say, how could, if that is what's happening on our campuses, how could we remedy that? Or what could we change to address that? Because if you really, and this is going to get into the next slide, if you really think about it, impact to students. That's the bottom line. What is the impact that how we're running our programs are having to our students? That's what they look at. And this, to me, and Bob and I will both work on this one. This, to me, is the hardest one that I've had to get across to coaches, is about fundraising. Because you have some very eager and enthusiastic students, and then you've got students who don't want to fundraise at all. You've got some very eager and enthusiastic coaches, and then you've got some coaches that don't like to fundraise at all. And so, Vernon, how in the world are you going to tell me I've worked hard to fundraise and get these opportunities for our students, and I busted my butt and I raised all this money, but now you're telling me I can't raise this money? I got this donor who's donating all these cleats to my baseball team. Why doesn't the softball coach go out and find their own donor and donate to their softball team? Could that be a Title know athletics is going up, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about at the very end is what we think the payoff of this is. Consult with an outside agency, get some training. This is what you guys are doing today, is getting a little bit of training. So that's step one to avoid a compliance plan. Step two, though, is where you've had a concern. So somebody comes to you and they report a concern. And we always talk about this because it's happened. So one time I had a concern come and the athletic director at school said, this isn't Castle Park, that's not Title IX, we don't do Title IX here. We don't do Title IX at this school. And what I would say to that is, Title IX is a federal law. If your school accepts federal dollars, and it does, then you do Title IX. And you are subject to the Title IX rules. So if the response is, we don't play that Title IX stuff here, I would say that's the exact wrong response. I would rather encourage you to say, look, thank you for sharing. We're going to take a look at it. Like, oh my goodness, the uniforms are different. We're going to take a look at that. Then you get strategic, audit the conditions at the site, work with your leadership and at the district level. I like the person in the back that said doing surveys at even at the elementary level. And then in this book, there's an opportunity. There's an analysis that you do at your school. It's really straightforward. A Title IX analysis. This is when you're in a situation like ours, and you guys are almost there because you have an OCR component. And this is like if you got a letter from Fair Play Sports, if you have an OCR complaint, don't panic. And also don't be defensive, because first impressions matter. As I mentioned, back in, and Bob reminded us, 2007 was the initial rumblings, 2012 we're in court, 2014 we had to settle because we're Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. No, there's no Title IX concerns here. We don't want to hear that Title IX stuff. Open a dialogue and don't be defensive. Just hear what the OCR report has to say. Hear what Fair Play has to say. Just listen. Phone a friend. Here we are. And then develop a plan. That really, this notion of a plan, because you won't. There may be some facilities issues that you can't fix tonight. There may be some structural issues that you have to change. But if you have a plan in place, like step one, step two, we're going to buy uniforms for the girls. Step three, we'll buy more equipment. Step four, have a plan in place and share that plan. And get, take the critical feedback. But again, don't be defensive and just listen, because the last thing anybody wants to do is go into court and have Donna Lopiano on their side testifying against what you're doing at your school. And it's not just Donna. They've got now, because Title IX has become such a contentious issue, they've got a whole team of evaluators that can come to your school and find out what's going on. And then this is the thing we caution you against more than anything. And I want Bob to talk just a second about that, since this notion of deliberate indifference.
Yeah, so a recurring theme in all the cases that we've talked to, and we talked to a lot of people in a lot of situations, is this idea of deliberate indifference. And honestly, this is where you start adding zeros to your supplement check. Deliberate indifference is that someone was informed
more students you bring into that, and the more diverse you make it, and the more female athletes you bring in, the better off they are. And this is what, again, we're seeing it. We see it at the national level, we see it at the local level. And so that's what Bob was talking about, is yeah, we have some hellish things that we have to do to close out our Title IX compliance plan, but in the end, it's a commitment to athletes. And in the end, it's something we know and we have seen. Now, there's only but 2 or 3 schools that are not at substantial proportionality in the Sweetwater District. Other schools are, not just Castle Park. We have about 4 or 5 other schools that have the female athletes that match their population at the school. That the percentage of female athletes, because we've brought on more sports, we've made a commitment to doing that. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And so I would hate for anyone to walk away from today's presentation and say, oh boy, all this Title IX foolishness and this and that. In the end, it's about broadening the experience so that more students can partake in what is so great about athletics and so great about the work that you all do in this room. So, we are finishing up, but we are absolutely here to answer questions. We will stay out here to answer any questions. Bob and I do this, and we made the drive up here because we, A, don't want you to do it, but B, it is something that we're passionate about. We are passionate to see schools succeed and do great things with their student athletes, and we know that that's going to happen here at Rancho Buena Vista. I want to thank Tim and Principal Villarreal for offering this a platform for us, and thank you guys so much.
I was at a sort of monthly meeting with principals across Trump County. And that book, you shared it at the SDA meeting, St. Louis County. I found it online. Tim will tell you I immediately emailed it to him. And I designed from the appendix a checklist for us that we already put in play. But it goes beyond that. The facility audit that those heard me speak of when I started in 2021 was because of this. Repair, replace, remove. Not just classroom for instruction, for everything. Meeting with varsity coaches, some don't want to, but want you to do that. With principal, that doesn't happen in other high schools. Because I want to make sure we catch almost everything. Because it's no longer the days that Tim can do it on his own. I started the social said hi, meeting with coaches, varsity coaches after the seasons, I'm doing it here. And every time a coach says, I forgot to tell Tim. Well, tell me, what can I help you with Tim? Oh, the net, the pole, got it. So I do that. And the other one is thinking about the summer. I started this because we needed this. Luckily, I had an assistant principal in Sam Meshelman who was an athletic director. He and I joined up immediately because the gaps here were huge with athletics. The OCR complaint he's sharing was before we got here in our positions because we thought it was taken care of. And I guess it was not. So I take this seriously from a long time ago. But we go so fast here, things happen so fast, that you just get caught up. But that's why those systems are in play. We have a great athletic director who's joining the fund to ensure that we avoid these scenarios. That everyone has a fair play and use of the facility. But my last thought, discretionary money. I use that to make up the gaps that existed here. And I think we're in a better place. But it takes you all also to share with us what is happening. That's important. And I know a lot of you coaches work for free. I get it. A lot of you use your own money. We get it. But you have to let us know what you need. And we'll try to get it. It is where we are. These are things we have to engage in. This is a beautiful experience today. But this is only a little bit of Title IX. But as coaches, we need your help. You're here for a reason. I see a lot of coaches and teachers that were hired in the last few years that are now coaching is amazing, that are female. I love it. That's the goal. That's the purpose, all by design. But we can't do this alone. So thank you, all of you. I'm very appreciative of you. I'm thankful for you. Tim, thank you, Tim, for all the hard work. Round of applause for Tim. Once again, for our presenters, once again, big round of applause. Thank you. And I want to share one story that shook me a little bit about the star basketball player down south who had all these trainers, and the girls, you should have just roll that.
Yeah, so, again, once you open your mind and you start, you'll start to see like, oh my gosh, like they just glare out at you what a potential violation could be. So we had a pretty big height basketball player play for us in San Ysidro. You guys have heard the name, Mike Williams. He ended up getting himself in a little legal problem, had some issues getting to Memphis, and now I think he's at president, I think. But anyway, remember NIL now, Mikey somehow got some shoe contract or some other contract, and so he had a little bit of pocket money. And with that, the coach, got involved, and so the coach was hiring these like trainers that were following the team around, like not just our athletic trainers that we provide for every site, but he had these guys coming out, and so the boys basketball team would run out on the court, and then with them would be like 14 trainers that were stretching them out, and it was great. That's a fantastic opportunity to have these trainers run out onto the court and work out with the kids. But what are we doing for the girls? Because doing that for the boys, that means you got to do something similar or some kind of function for the girls, and there was never an answer for that. So we go to the principal or to the athletic director and say, well, then if there's not going to be some kind of offset, or we're not going to address that, then we're not going to have these trainers coming out, we're stretching out the boys and not the girls. And so that's the level of discussion we have to have, is that it's got to be, we can't just do something. And the way it related to that story, the way it was explained to me is that if you built the top technology computer lab, in the room right across the way, or in this room even, beautiful computer lab, but you put a sign on the door that said boys only, would that be a problem? I mean, of course it would be a problem. you know, and they're like, hey, come to our practice, it's, you know, our tryouts, it's gonna be, you know, Saturday at noon. What we have to do at Castle Park because of our compliance plan is whatever name was on that list for a girls' sport, they have to call and find out why that girl, if they didn't come Saturday at noon, they have to call and find that girl and say what happened. And we have to write a report of why that girl signed up on a list showing interest to play a sport, but then didn't end up on the roster. It's called an interest list analysis. It's just one of those things. So no cut policy, interest list analysis. We have to recruit down into the middle schools, or not recruit, but we have to offer opportunities in the middle schools. So there are a lot of other pieces to the compliance plan that got us to the substantial proportionality, but then we mimic those at other schools. So
Play days is probably one of our best. So I have a small Title IX budget. If you're a teacher or an instructional assistant, you're the head coach, I pay for a substitute for you. And you go to PE classes for a whole week and you take all the lacrosse sticks down there in the balls, you take all the girls down to the stadium field, and you have play days in PE classes for a week.
yeah, so we do PE demonstrations. So that's how we try to recruit.
Discretionary budget.
Yes.
My question might be more of a long-winded response, so if it needs to be something that I come and grab you later, I'm more than happy to. But I guess my question was, being in a program like cheer, where we're not considered a CIS sport, despite supporting CIS sports and traveling with them throughout the year, how does Title IX apply to something like our program?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we like to beat up on this podcast and do events on, to be quite honest with you. So our planners council and us have had many discussions about cheer. So sideline cheer is not considered a sport. In order to meet the requirements, you gotta have a league, you gotta have a competition, you gotta have a playoff championship series and all those types of things. For cheer in specific, it's gotta be the same routine that's learned that week, and then you have judges that judge how what school
one CIF champion, the long jumper, right?
Yes.
And then we had a state champion, 2 league champions,
Kiki and, yes.
okay? And then we had 1 state qualifier,
Yes.
Kiki. She got 18th in the state.
Yes.
All right. So yeah. So again, I just want to, recognize all the efforts that we do, and a lot of you guys have
not something that the students are like seeking out, oh, I can't wait, I hope I get asked to it. They don't know what it is. So they sit down, they're kind of looking around at each other, are we in trouble? They're sitting quiet tables in the library, having no clue. So that first session is pretty important to get them acquainted with what's going to happen. And then 4 sessions in a row after that are really breaking down what we need them to be leaders. And then that 6th one is when we have other captains or other coaches, important people who come in and talk about how leadership has impacted them, how they've been good leaders, lessons they've learned as leaders, and kind of a question and answer panel. Any questions so far? So what Landon and I decided to do tonight was, instead of running you through some of the modules, is we decided to kind of show you what we noticed in our programs. That we have seen the Leadership Academy impact our teams, impact our programs, impact just the vibe that you feel out there, and the success on the field, the success off the field in our programs. And I'm going to talk about one from the emerging leaders and one from the veteran leaders, and I think Landon's going to do the same. So my first one is the commitment continuum, and this is one of the 4 modules after that initial one. And as players get this continuum, and we run through this. This activity during this experience is one of their favorites. They have to do skits where they have to take situations and they have to have someone in their skit be these different people. And so someone needs to act like the resistant person, someone has to act like the obsessed person, but they know what they are. They've seen them. And I think that what I explain here is we've been trying to put this program into words. Like, we pick captains, and we pick those captains because we think they're going to be good leaders. We never taught them how to be leaders. We never taught them how to be captains. We may have thought we were calling them those things. We weren't. You know when I figured that out? When we started doing this. And I took this, 2 summers ago, when I went through this and started to lead the modules, I realized I was not teaching my captains how to be captains. Put a captain label on them, send them into the fire, and expect them to do it. And we weren't, that's the wrong thing. We didn't do it right. And now, our captains know how to be captains. The important one for here, in my opinion, is they finally have labels for what they see all the time. They know who's resistant, they just didn't know to call them resistant. Now they can put a name on it. Like, that person's fighting this. Right? And that person's obsessed. They're like over the top. You need to take a chill pill. Not get them because you're obsessed. You're taking it too far. You're going to hurt yourself. You can't fight on a team. Right? Those 2 pendulums. And so the big thing for me here was that now me and my captains are on the same page. We could identify it, we could talk about it, we could put labels on it. And then the other thing that we did here was that you're never going to be perfect. Your team is going to have some resistance. But we talked about, you need to have everybody on your team. Right? You can be successful because if you minimize the resistance, they stick out. You just need a certain number in that group to set those other kids aside and they might be the loudest, but they're not winning anymore. And you can overcome that resistance. And so it's about 15% of your team can be resistant. And you're still going to be able to overcome that. You've got that 85% that's on your side, moving the team in the right direction, fighting for the right thing, fighting for each other, and having fun being around each other. And now we can put those labels, and we can talk about that, and the captains will see the same thing that the team sees. Any questions on that one?
follow mid-game. It's pretty useful. Can you go to the next slide? So we talk about this traffic light analogy for them. And so it's something that they can kind of visualize. So like we'll have them all come in the room and we'll talk about green. So like if you're in the green, and I know like there's a lot of athletes in here too, so maybe just kind of think about it in your own way. Like think about like a game you played when you were just like out of your mind. Like you're just clicking, it's probably the best game of your life. Everything was flowing for you. You're just kind of calm and relaxed. And they'll all write that down. They'll kind of reflect on the game they've experienced like that. And that would be them being the green. And then the yellow would be when maybe a couple things during the game don't go their way. So now they start to get frustrated. They might start to point fingers. They might start like some negative self-talk in their heads. We'll refer to that as the yellow. And then the red is just like they've lost it. Like they've lost it. They've lost their minds. They've got terrible body language. They're cussing, crying, all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of, because everybody can connect. Like I know we've all lived in all three of those before. Like I've lived in the green, I've lived in red. And we talked to them about how we want them to be in the green probably 75 to 80% of the time. And the real key is like just the resilience, right? So like how good are these kids as athletes when they start to feel themselves in the yellow? How quickly can they pull themselves out of that back to the green, right? So we give them these three tools. We talk about being present, positive, and focused on the process, right? So present, like I think the thing a lot of the student athletes who do this age is they really struggle to stay present because they worry so much maybe about a play that might have just happened or a play that might happen next. And so we really just focus on any energy you give to the previous play or the next play takes away from your ability to perform in the present, right? And like with our team in particular, we just call that like next play. Like Coach K, he calls that next play mentality, right? Then there's positive, right? Like, and this makes them kind of assess what are their conversations sound like in their head when they're competing, right? Like, are they talking to themselves in a constructive way? Like, there's definitely ways they can talk to themselves. Like, if I'm talking to myself, like, don't turn the ball over, I'm definitely turning the ball over. More than, I turn the ball over a lot, Coach. But instead, maybe you can rephrase that, take care of the ball, right? So like focusing on the way they phrase things, how they talk to themselves. And then also just being process oriented. And as kids, I think they focus so much on outcomes, like they focus so much on like scoring, not scoring, winning, losing, that it takes away from their ability in the moment to just focus on the process, the fundamentals, the things they need to do to get the desired outcome. And so, you know, with them, we really are pretty clear about trying to keep them in the green. And then, Coach, can you just go to the next slide real quick? And I just have like one kind of experience I had with this, because like with our team, in the summer and in the fall, like I love to put us against teams that just kick our butts. Like we play like a bunch of the best teams in the state. And so 2 years ago, right after we had, I think we had just finished the composer section. It was like 2 weeks after. We were playing this big fall showcase, and there were all these freaking cameras there, like all the lights was there. And we had a pretty young team that year. We had like all sophomores. And we had this player who just kind of transferred over to play for us. So she had all this emotion, you know, she's at like a new school, she's playing in one of the best teams in the state. And we had come out, and we were down like, it was ugly. Like we were down by like 20 within the first couple minutes. It was pretty tough. And she had just gone through the composure unit like a couple weeks ago. And she was losing her mind. Like she's like getting frustrated, she's pushing kids, just like terrible body language. She's not looking at any of her teammates in the eye. And I just called her over like, hey, you're in the yellow, you're like almost to the red, like I need you in the green right now. And it was so easy. Like in the past, if I didn't have that framework to talk to a kid about, I would have just probably got upset myself. I would have probably just started yelling at him, pulled him out of the game, and probably not played him because I was frustrated with the way they were frustrated. But instead, we kind of had that common language. And so when I could say, hey, you're in the yellow, she knew right away where she was mentally.
lot of our players have came through the Leadership Academy the last couple years. So maybe us as coaches should kind of get on board with some of that terminology.
I totally agree.
That way we're all speaking apples and apples.
100%.
You stole my next presentation.
Sorry, sorry.
Jump my gun.
That's an ex-pro basketball player recommendation right there. Oh.
See, I'm hating on me. On, boy.
And I still give them nuggets.
No, you got it, you got it.
So a little bit of the theme is that it's not just players. I think Landon and I have benefited as much as our captain have. And it got us on the same page. So my example was, it was a terrible warm-up. We had just lost the semifinal game, but we had a really big game for the third place game because of power rankings. We can't lose this game. We gotta bounce back. Our warm-up sucked. Right? One thing, you don't warm up for a game by walking. And they were doing a little run and they were walking back. And they know, don't walk. I was gonna go say, I was gonna jump in. I didn't have to. My captain stepped in and said, we're starting over. We don't walk. There it goes. There it was. And you know what? It was the best friend I was walking. I didn't have to do it. Now, I had done it before. I had said it before, but they got on it. They did it. And warm-ups after that, I didn't watch warm-ups after that. Like, that was the last game that I really paid attention to pregame. I hate
there's this thing we go over with the kids. Can you go to the next slide? We give them this example of the Arizona women's swimming and diving team. And before the season, the team had all gotten together and they asked themselves, you know, like, what could we be if we really like fulfilled our potential? And so the team gets together and they set these goals. If you look at the top, those are the goals. So like their goal was they wanted to finish in the top 3 of the NCAAs. They wanted to have 13 qualifiers for the NCAAs. They wanted to win all their dual meets and they wanted a team GPA of 3.0. So they set their common goal. And then they all sit down and the players do this. They talk about what do they have to commit to in order to reach that goal. Okay? And so they print it out and they all sign it and they hang it in the locker room and they see it every day. And so like I directly just kind of stole this idea. We did it with our team, so like we did it a tiny bit different though. We told them what their goals were. We told them we wanted to win CIF, we wanted to win B, and we wanted a 4.0 team GPA. We had 3.97 and we lost in the semis this year. But what we did was we kind of asked them just like, what would this look like? Like what would every day look like for a team that had those goals? What would every day look like? And so the kids were all in the classroom. This was like a 2-hour meeting, and they would just kind of go up whenever they had a thought, and they would write it on the board. And so that's what you see kind of on the left there. And they talk, and like you can see some of the terminology, it's even from the program, just like next play mentality, right? And they had all these things. And so what we did was we set our goals, and then it's not pictured here, but I asked them like, what would you want like your teachers to say about you? Like if your teachers went to a game, if like your grandparents went to a game, like what would you want them to say about our team and what we look like and the way we play? And they come up with like this long list of stuff, and then we boiled it all down to like hardworking, passionate, cohesive unit, composed, well-rounded, and organized. So we talked about our goals, our identity, and then our standards. And our standards were just the things we needed to do every day. And the kids made this stuff up themselves. We were just kind of, my assistant coaches and I, we just kind of facilitating it and kind of, like Coach Sanchez is really good at when a kid has a good idea. He makes me feel like it's like the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, it's like, and so we picked all these standards, and what we did was we just kind of put it on our ball rack and we looked at it every day. But I think the thing about that's important is this. Like, we had a really tough start to the season. Like at one point we were 2-7. Like, and we were getting our butts whipped. Like we were playing some of the best teams in Orange County, all this kind of stuff. But like we had our goals, and that was kind of like our guiding light. Like it was our direction. And we all knew where we were going and where we wanted to go. And your players have learned about this in the program too, like the importance of having a common goal and being committed to that goal. And so like some of the stuff in the program, like I've even taken as a coach. That's why I think Coach Abrams' suggestion is so great, because I think a lot of you guys really love this stuff, like as coaches. But like we took this and directly applied it, and it worked for us because we had 10 kids on the same team, all playing for the same reason. Like, and that's like a dream come true, to have a team of 10 basketball players playing for the same goal and just showing up, and every day was just a reflection of that. So that's something I got from the program kind of as a coach that, you know, I think was pretty valuable to me. So, yeah.
Just to share just one more thing. I was lucky enough to be a facilitator for the emerging leaders with
coaches should all be facilitators. Well, I don't have $100,000 to send all of our coaches to get trained for $2,500 a pop to be facilitators. So is there a way that we're allowed to do a bridge version of this? And they didn't say no. So I'm gonna take that as okay. And actually one of my goals this year is to work with facilitators, come up with a bridge version of what we do in the emerging and veteran leadership things, to come up with a short, quick, simple, so you guys can get what they're doing and maybe be able to get familiar with the language, like you said, Coach, and be so you guys then, when you come to they come to you, you can use that to get your captains to be effective and have what Landon has gone through, what Tim has gone through, what I know Chris has gone through when she was coaching with the girls, and what Rachel's done and Nathan's done. You know, what they've been able to do because they've been through the program and they're able to know what their captains have gone through. They can relate to their players a little different. I want to give that experience to every single one of you head coaches in here, so that you guys can have that next level. That's where it will take us to that next level, I think, as an athletic program. So that's one of my goals next year, just so you guys know that it is coming.